What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Full 90, and it is finally time for the 2024-2025 Premier League table predictions. This is probably the most anticipated video of the year, and I cannot wait to get started. Also, for at the very least the first month, but I'm looking to do monthly giveaways to the members over on Patreon, I will be giving one lucky patron of the channel $100 at the first international break. So after the week 3 fixtures that take place at the beginning of September, I will be doing a randomized draw for one of the members of the Patreon who have used the link to join the Patreon. That's old members, new members, anyone that is currently a member. One of you will be randomly selected to win $100 PayPal cash for you, and you can use that for essentially a free year's worth of Patreon membership for the season, or you can use it for whatever you want. It's entirely up to you. Get exclusive members tips and accumulators and shouted out in every single video, but also one of you for the first month will win $100. If that's well received and a lot of you like the idea, then I will look to continue that giveaway each and every month. So we'll have 10 winners until the end of the Premier League season this year, just as my way of giving back to you even more. So if you want to get involved, go to the Patreon link, and even if no one joins from this video, all of the members still currently over there, one of you will win $100 this month, and I'll announce that over there. But yes, today we are going to be predicting the Premier League table from 20th to 1st. Now I will say this, I've compiled it, and it is difficult to really predict upsets when you're predicting something like the Premier League table. So as a little bit of fun, as well as the 1 to 20 in this video, I will also be exclusively releasing my crazy table predictions over on Patreon, where I have a different winner of the Premier League. I have different teams getting relegated and different teams doing well and not as well as I'm predicting in this video, as a bit of fun to see if my crazy predictions end up being even better than the predictions I make in this video. Because one thing that you can guarantee with anyone's Premier League table prediction video is that they're going to get teams wrong, whether that's teams underperforming, teams overperforming. There are going to be a lot of wrong picks in these videos, which means there's a chance for something like a crazy table prediction to actually perform very well in ways that people just could not predict. So it's all happening over on Patreon. Very long intro, but it is the first video back after about a month off since the Euros, so I'm very excited. Make sure you like, drop a subscribe down below, and let's get started. Now, I'm not going to go too much into depth with every single team, otherwise we could be here for about an hour if I gave a little synopsis of each team's last season, pre-season, transfers. This ultimately is all about sort of finalizing the prediction for something for me to then look back on at the end of the season. So I won't be going too much into depth about each team. I just want this video to be a record of how I think the Premier League is going to finish, and then we can see at the end, maybe I'll do a reaction video to my predictions. But 20th place, I've actually gone for playoff winners Southampton. Obviously, essentially, you could just argue that last year they finished the lowest out of the 20 teams in the Premier League in the football pyramid. So you could argue that maybe they'll finish 20th simply for that reason. But I also think, obviously, the main contender for 20th, the two favourites are Southampton and Ipswich. And I do just think Ipswich, the story going from League One, double promotion up to the Premier League, it does just have that air of excitement about it, and I think they'll be able to do a little bit more this season than Southampton, whereas Southampton have been an established Premier League club over the last 10-20 years, and it might not be just as exciting for them. I'm not as excited by Southampton, so I've got Southampton in 20th, and as much as I'd love to say that Ipswich make a run, stay safe, I just think they're going to finish 19th. I think Ipswich could have a very similar season to Luton. I think they could pull off some big performances, maybe get some decent results. And obviously, Ipswich, Southampton, whoever, they're not going to finish on 0 points for the season, are they? They're going to take points from someone, and that is crucial. If Ipswich can just get one result against a Big Six club, that could have huge ramifications as to how the league finishes, who wins the title, and all that good stuff. So even if you're finishing 20th, each team has their part to play as to which team they can take points from in the title race. So I am going for Ipswich in 19th. I'd love to see them go further, but I am going to go for Ipswich in 19th place. Now, one thing that I found really difficult was whether or not I'd predict a newly promoted team to stay up, and I really wanted to predict Leicester to stay up, but I just haven't. Maybe it's just recency bias in the sense we just saw the 3 promoted Championship teams get relegated last season. And it seems likely, well, they are the favourites to get it done this season. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope the team that I predict 17th place goes down, in all honesty. And in my crazy predictions table, I don't have all 3 promoted teams getting relegated. So if you want to check that out again, that's available over on Patreon by the time this video goes up. But it is going to be Leicester in 18th place. They're actually the favourite to finish bottom, or the favourite to be relegated at the very least. So I assume that translates to the favourite to finish bottom of the league. But I don't know. I don't know. Steve Cooper, is it a good appointment? I don't know. Again, let me know down in the comments. Give me your thoughts. I'm not so sure, but I've gone for Leicester 18th, and then 17th, the frustrating Premier League mainstay that is Everton. I think they're just going to survive again. 17th place. They should be performing higher than I always predict them, but they always seem to sort of let me down. But saying that, they've got a good result in them, whether that's in the Merseyside derby or just a good result against a good team. Everton have got that in the locker, even though they've got shockers in the locker too. It wasn't too long ago we saw them get stuffed 6-0 by Chelsea, but Everton have got enough in them, enough good results to stay up versus the Championship teams newly promoted, in my opinion. And similar can be said for my 16th place team, Nottingham Forest, who I think should be safe, and they've got good enough players to be safe, but they just don't perform particularly well. In my crazy table prediction, I've got them finishing higher up the league table, where I think they should be doing better than they do, but ultimately they seem to fall short of anything above like survival. Even though I think they should do better, I've got them down in 16th. Same after that, we've got Fulham in 15th. I think Fulham, they should be finishing higher up the table, but I could see them finishing lower than this. It's almost like in my head they should be 12th, but also I think they weirdly could finish 18th, so I've chucked them in the middle at 15th, if that makes any sense. Part of me thinks they should be doing better. Part of me fears they could have a really shocking season and go down, so I've chucked them in the middle at 15th. Now, after this in 14th, I've got Wolverhampton Wanderers. A lot of people aren't giving them much hope for this season. They're one of the favourites to be relegated. I actually think Wolves are all right. I think if they keep their key players, their key contingent of players, they should do all right. Obviously, we don't know. That is the one issue with making these prediction videos. I always make my Premier League prediction table video a week before the first game week, and of course the transfer window doesn't close until right before the 3rd game week at the end of August. So I think this is going to be a tricky one. My next 2 teams, Wolves and Bournemouth, I've got in 13th as well. Both of them and their season kind of relies on the transfer business, really the outgoings of their better players. If they can keep hold of their players, so for example, if Bournemouth keep hold of Dominic Solanke, that sort of improves their chances of staying up, but things are heating up between Solanke and Tottenham, and I think if Solanke leaves Bournemouth, you could see Bournemouth drop down a few places, and I think in my crazy table prediction I've got Bournemouth finishing lower than 13th. But Wolves, they are a decent team. Bournemouth are a decent team, but both of which they're at 13th and 14th here on the basis that they keep the bulk of their players, because it could be looking a bit tricky for them, especially Wolves, I think, if they lose some of their key players. So I've got Wolves 14th, Bournemouth 13th. 12th place, I have Brentford. Similar sort of scenario. If they lose Ivan Toney, who will obviously be playing a full year of football, it could be difficult, but I get the feeling Ivan Toney will stay. I'd imagine he's English as well. You've got that English tax whereby teams want more money for English players, and I think he'll be priced out of a move and stick with Brentford, who will perform a little bit better this season than they did last season. I think they underperformed last season. I think they'll do a bit better this year in 12th. After this, 11th place, I've got Crystal Palace. Now, I know Palace, I believe they finished 10th after a really great end to the season. They were like the form team of the league. But you have to think how often Palace get predicted in the pre-season videos as 13th or 14th in the Premier League, and then how often they ended up finishing there. So although some people might argue Crystal Palace should be higher up in this prediction, purely based on the end of the season and their pre-season, which is going really well, I think 11th place just shows the improvements that they've made, because they quite frequently would get predicted and end up finishing a few places lower than this. So I'm going for Palace in 11th. I almost had them in 10th, but I just shaded them out for Brighton, who are also having a good pre-season, and I think Brighton can just crack into a top half finish. Obviously, they finished 11th last season, just behind Palace, so I've swapped them around. Brighton in 10th place. Now, 9th place, I have a team that finished 9th place last year, and that is West Ham. But slight spoiler with my crazy table predictions, West Ham are my dark horse for the Premier League this season. I won't go as to how high I had them finish in my crazy prediction, but I've got them in the top 6 in the Premier League. And with the quality of the teams in and around with the big 6, and then you've got the likes of Newcastle and Villa as well, which make up the 8 teams above them in this table, of course, saying that West Ham will have a top 6 finish is a huge shout, but I could see it happening. I think they've made some very intelligent signings. I think they're a decent team. I could see them finishing higher than 9th. They don't have European distractions like every other team, I believe, above them in the table at this point. But I'm just going to settle in West Ham 9th. Maybe if I were to change it, looking at my table now, I would possibly move West Ham up to 8th or 7th and bring the next few down. But I've gone with West Ham 9th. I've made the graphic now, so we're going to stick with it. And 8th place, I have Newcastle. 7th place, I have Aston Villa. So a drop-off for Aston Villa from 4th to 7th, but they've got Champions League football, of course. Newcastle in 8th place. They've been sort of found out a little bit more. It's not quite as shocking and as exciting, for example, when they first got taken over. They realise now there is still work to be done for them to reach the level of Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, even though that is where you'd expect their future to be heading in the upcoming years, the next decade or so. So I've got Newcastle 8th, Aston Villa 7th, which does leave a top 6 of the big 6, the traditional big 6. And out of the 6, who is the worst team? I'm going Tottenham. Maybe I'm biased as an Arsenal fan. Do I think Tottenham are worse than Manchester United? I don't think they should be, but they always seem to end up being worse. And I'm going to put Tottenham in 6th place. And I mentioned them just now. I'm going for Manchester United in 5th place as well. And even on my crazy table prediction, I put Manchester United in 5th because I just can't see where else they land. I know they've got a couple of injury problems already. I believe Yoro is going to be out for a couple of months due to a pre-season injury. He was a new signing for them over the summer, but Man United have been making signings. They're a good team. They're not quite clicking. I believe they'll have De Ligt in the Premier League this year, which would really help out their problem at the back in the sense that they, for the last year or so, have had plenty of injury problems back there and they never seem to play their preferred 2. If you compare it to the likes of Arsenal, who play Gabriel and Saliba as a centre-back pairing more or less every game, Man United have had so many different chopped and changed combinations that it's difficult for them to really put a run together. So for that reason, I'm putting them above Tottenham. Even though I think Tottenham should be able to finish above United, I'm putting Man United in 5th. After this, top 4 now. 4th place, I'm going for Chelsea. I predicted Chelsea to finish 4th last season, and when they spent the majority of the season around 10th to 8th, everyone thought that it was a dumb prediction that I made. But then, around February sort of time, Chelsea started playing like the team I believed they are. They started winning games, playing good football. They had a really good win streak, and ended up finishing, I believe it was 5th in the table. And I think they can do one better than that. I think they can finish 4th, maybe even higher. In my crazy prediction, I've got Chelsea finishing higher. But I'm going to go for 4th place in this video. And that brings me on to 3rd place. You probably guessed it. It's going to be Liverpool Football Club. Liverpool beating Arsenal, it has to be said, in the USA Tour pre-season. Very good result there. I think they'll be there or thereabouts. But I think, like last year, they'll fall just short of the top 2. And this is it. Do I finally, as an Arsenal fan, pull the trigger on Arsenal to win the league? I do think, when the rumours that Kevin De Bruyne was going to Saudi Arabia were coming out, I was thinking that's it, Arsenal going to win the league. Kevin De Bruyne has been Arsenal's kryptonite, whether it's playing against us or just battering every other team. De Bruyne leads Man City to league titles. However, he is staying, he is back. It was just a rumour. Arsenal, I mean, they've signed Calafiori, which is great. That's good news. Gabriel Jesus looks hot form in pre-season, so whether or not we actually go for a striker, I don't know. But Arsenal look good. I hope they can win the league, but I don't see it. We're going for Man City 1, Arsenal 2 once again. Maybe Arsenal can do something crazy in this new Champions League format, or they can win a cup. Or maybe Man City get a points deduction, because if you look, Man City are favourites to win the league, but they are much more likely to get relegated. I think the odds are about 20 to 1. And to put it into perspective, Arsenal and Liverpool are about 1,000 to 1 to get relegated. Like, in the sense, it's just not going to happen, really. But Man City, there is that slight caveat with the odds, because it's possible, I think in November, they might be sanctioned for some of their financial fair play irregularities over the last decade, and that could therefore potentially affect their title charge this season. But it's hard to look past Man City, and as an Arsenal fan, I like predicting Arsenal to be second to see if we can outperform that, see if we can win the league as underdogs, which we are, Man City the favourites. That would be incredible. I don't have the guts to pull the trigger on this one. However, my crazy table prediction, like I said, Chelsea are much higher. Who do I have winning the league? It's not Man City. So if you want to check that out, it's over on Patreon. But as you can see there, those are my Premier League predictions, and that is going to do it for this video. If you did enjoy it, please do drop a like, leave your predictions down in the comments below. Maybe give me dark horse, surprise relegation, surprise top 6 finish, all of that, top scorer, everything down in the comments. Subscribe, as we're going to be on the road to 30,000 subscribers this year, and I will see you in the next video very soon. Make sure, if you want to get involved with the $100 giveaway and the free exclusive members tips and accumulators with shout outs in every video, then join the Patreon using the link in the description.